You are now listening to the Going North podcast with your host, author and speaker, Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, you're going to hear the voice of a different author share their stories, expertise, and their struggles that they had to overcome in life to leave you inspired to get more out of your life. Be sure to not only listen to this episode, but share with others, connect with the authors, and always advance others to advance yourself. Now let's get on with the show. And we're back at you again on the Going North podcast. They say it's so nice you gotta come back twice. And today's guest was so phenomenal that he released a brand new book that reached the top 100 under wealth management in the Kindle store. And you're probably wondering who this author is. He is a black belt martial artist who is also a U.S. Army veteran, and he's also in the Maryland area. And this time he's going to be diving deeper into what it is to be a financial black belt, because he recently released his brand new book, The Financial Black Belt Academy's Financial Self-Defense Training Guide. And you're probably wondering who this guy is. It's the one, the only Ken Rupert. How are you today, sir?
Dom, I'm doing so good that they probably should arrest me for doing this good, you know. I've had a phenomenal week. It's really been a great week, and especially with the release of the book, just phenomenal, you know, to get it out there finally. It's been, I was staying up until midnight every night writing, just trying to get the book put together to coincide with a competition that I was sharing my vision with, and it was a phenomenal week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Made in the top 100 in sales and won a pitch competition. I'm pretty sure there's been more stuff, too, going on.
There's all sorts of stuff that, you know, is opening up. We have, obviously, going north again, which is phenomenal. I thoroughly enjoy talking with you and getting together and learning more about, you know, kind of how you put yourself together here. And, yeah, we got another pitch competition coming up in June. Well, we'll find out if we make it to the five finalists, right? And if the Financial Black Belt Academy gets to the 5 finalists, then we'll be pitching in August in Carroll County in Westminster. So that'll be a phenomenal opportunity, too.
So sun's out, financial guns are out. Woohoo!
Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I'm writing almost every night up until midnight and finally got out this wonderful book, The Financial Black Belt Academy's Financial Self-Defense Training Guide. And I like I guess it's because I'm somewhat of a martial arts junkie. I did martial arts for a few years, and just seeing folks break through stuff. I just love the covers, just you breaking through the cinder blocks. It's like with this book, with the cover, it feels like this one sends the strongest message out of all the other covers of your other books that I've seen. So what just made you decide to just commit and just go full, you know what, I'm just going to put on the gi and going to break through these cinder blocks and have the nice shot right there and it's going on this book cover?
You know, it's kind of funny because that cover is actually a picture that's probably somewhere around 30 years old. Back in the 80s when I got out of the military, came back to Maryland and met a second-degree black belt and started training underneath of him, and we were doing, I think that was actually a belt test. It's the only picture I have back in the late 80s of me doing any kind of martial arts, and I was at a belt test, and that was my break. I had to break cinder blocks, and we set up 4 cinder blocks and punched through it, and I thought, you know, when you think about being a financial black belt, the real idea is that, you know, in martial arts, the whole concept is you neutralize the threat and you seize the opportunity. And when you do that properly, you break through whatever's blocking you, right? And so when it comes to the financial black belt, I just got this picture in my mind that oftentimes we run up against these barriers. And I thought it was a great picture for a book about breaking through these financial barriers of debt, and mismanagement of money and things like that. And really the whole book is based on a strategic process that builds off of, so one strategy builds off the next, and it just keeps going. And by the time you get to by the time you make your first degree black belt, you're not only breaking through a lot of barriers, but you're executing multiple strategies at any given time, and all of those strategies come together, and there's just a synergy that gets picked up by that, and you just get momentum, and that's what breaking is all about. It's about power, and it's about momentum. And so the book is all about, using the power of knowledge and the momentum of strategy to break through those financial barriers. So it was just a very natural and seemed to be communicating the right picture for the book. So that's why I picked that. That's how I came up to that picture for the cover.
Haha, yes, sir. Like, even though the photo's decades old, it still is a darn great photo, and I love it. I love it.
If I could sell books on or on the cover, that one definitely would take the cake right there.
That's right. That's right indeed. So with this new release, what really separates it from the other books that talk about wealth management and just having a financial black belt?
Well, I think that people could literally each chapter it captures a belt level, right? So with each belt level, there's a strategy. There's a financial goal to achieve. I don't see other books out there on finances or personal financial management that literally lay out a goal that somebody could say, I'm going to do just chapter 1. And when I achieve chapter 1, I'm going to do chapter 2. So it's a book that lends itself to actually motivating people to get involved and step up and actually take the action that it's talking about. It's not just giving you theory. These principles and strategies that are discussed at each belt level, I executed on. And, over the course of the years that I've been doing these strategies, I'm a first-generation self-made millionaire just in that sense, because the strategies have all worked together. So they're time-tested. They're proven that if you execute on them. So the book literally gives you belt-level instruction on what milestone, what financial milestone you're shooting for, and the person can actually the strategies are contained within the chapters. So even if they never take a seminar, just from this book alone, they could position themselves to achieve their first degree black belt. And of course, the book goes all the way up to 9th degree black belt. So it's a phenomenal book in that sense, that it actually engages the reader and encourages them to actually physically do and become what the book is talking about, where a lot of books don't do that.
Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. This one will probably reach the martial artists out there, and everybody, at least most people, they've probably seen karate or they've taken at least a class or whatever. And it's a nice change of pace to actually make it equal to getting your finances in order.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, right, everybody walks into, a lot of people stand on the outside of a training studio. And the reason why they don't come in to start taking martial arts and learning martial arts is because they literally believe either, first of all, nothing's ever going to happen to me bad, or secondly, they believe that they already know how to defend themselves. Now, truth be told, people who think that it will never happen to them, they'll never have to defend themselves, they're actually deceiving themselves, because you could literally walk into a 7-Eleven just to get something to drink and find yourself in a situation that is life-threatening. So you have to know how to defend yourself. Those who believe they know how to defend themselves already would never walk into a karate studio and go up to the master and say, I'm not only proficient, but I'm efficient and effective at my self-defense, because they know the master obviously knows more. You come into the studio, everybody who walks through the door believes they have some level of ability to defend themselves. Apply that same principle to this particular situation, the financial black belt. People who are standing on the outside going, I don't need another financial program. They believe that bad things are never going to happen to them financially, or they believe that they have 100%, a great strategy for managing their finances. But that wouldn't explain why 78% of the people who are working in America live paycheck to paycheck. It wouldn't explain why 70% of the people admit to being underneath the financial stress. If it were true that the strategies that people were executing were successful, we wouldn't have those kinds of numbers. And the fact is we have those kinds of numbers. So this book invites the person in and says, hey, you probably do know a lot about finances, but take it from a different point of view, understand a different strategy, and be open to changing what you're doing to improve it, to become more effective and more efficient at actually what you're doing. And that's what we're all about.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And that's a good thing, too, because it's like you don't want to walk in 7-Eleven to get something to drink, and then out of nowhere, in a life-threatening situation where it's like, all right, here's a wallet, and then out of nowhere, you smack the gun out their hand and give them that flying sidekick out of nowhere.
I don't know. It's very interesting because the thing about martial arts is I study Hapkido. And in Hapkido, they have 13 basic techniques, and people think, 13. Yeah, but you apply those 13 different techniques at different angles. You can do one technique. I can do a certain technique 16 different ways, depending on what the circumstances require. It's having all those different options available to the person that allows them to be confident that if a situation develops where they need to defend themselves, they can do it. So, once again, we're applying martial arts principles to finance, and we're saying, wouldn't it be great if in an investing situation you can learn 16 different ways to make money? You know the threats to look out for. You know that when the right hand is coming, you also have to think that there's a left hand that possibly could follow. So you start to realize and you're able to assess the risks that face a person when it comes to finances. And you can better analyze whether the investment is a good investment, whether it carries too much risk with it. If it's a real good opportunity that it's a quick hit, you can get in and out quickly, or it's a more long-term play. There's things that, we talk about by the time in order to make second-degree black belt, you have to understand the merger and acquisition arbitrage play, which Warren Buffett uses a lot. In order to make third-degree financial black belt, you have to understand options trading because there's a ton of money to be made in options trading if you do it correctly. But you got to know these techniques. And so, the first part of it, the first 6 belts are defensive. You want to go through, you want to get your income distribution strategy going, which is different than a budget. A budget says how much money do I got to spend. The income distribution strategy says what are my priorities and how do I fund them. So it's focused on priority. Then you get your emergency fund in place. You pay off your consumer debt. And by the time you get to purple belt, you've got an IDS, an income distribution strategy that's working just humming along like a engine. You've got your fully funded emergency fund up to 1 year's total salary, and you have no consumer debt. Now you're ready to invest. So when you get to brown belt, you're going to do what we call jump the boards, and you're going to head on to investing. So then we're going to get into brokerage account, HSA, Roth IRA, 401k investing, and we're also going to pay off the mortgage. By the time you get there, that's a red black belt, right? You're only one belt away from the financial black belt, the first degree financial black belt, which is $1 million in net assets, and it's doable, but it takes a lot of work. Just like when you come into class, in order to get to your black belt, it takes a lot of physical work to get there. Well, financial black belt's no different. It takes a lot of physical work to get there. But the difference with this program as opposed to other programs, this program is interested in giving the knowledge to the person so the person can keep their money, as opposed to, a lot of the brokerage dealer firms or 401k plans. They want They're interested in giving the person enough knowledge that causes them to put more money into the plan. Since we don't do any investing, personal investing for people, we teach people how to do their own investing. It actually keeps more money in the person's pocket, and that's the goal.
And that's a great goal indeed, and especially in this day and age, especially after the release of your book, there's almost like no excuse of not having the knowledge to do so at this point. So that's really great that your motto, and I guess it frees up your time to do other things too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you don't have to sit around and worry about how you're going to pay the bills, it frees up time that you can actually spend with your family. It changes the whole dynamic. Now, of course, Dom, you know me, I have a special needs child, so the whole purpose behind this, what kind of drove this was my realization that I was not just going to be saving for my own retirement. I was literally saving for my son's retirement 40 years beyond my death. That's a huge motivator.
Wow.
It's also a very stressful concept when you think about that every day I have to live with, will I have enough to provide for his care? And so that's kind of what drove this whole process. And it was a natural fit with the belt system of martial arts. People know their why. People, most of the brokerage companies and most of the 401k providers who come in and do financial wellness training, they want to define the person's why. We're not interested in defining the person's why. The person knows why they want to do something. We're there to provide the opportunity for them to develop the how. And that's more powerful than you could ever imagine. When the person has a big enough why, they got to figure out what their how. How are we going to do this? And we step in and we give them a program that is proven to work if they execute it. But you got to show up, you got to do the work, you got to become proficient at it so you can test for the next belt level.
And that's one heck of a powerful why. 40 years past, wow, after your death, it was like, wow, and that's a real strong why, and it's good you're thinking that way as opposed to how many years, and that's 4 decades, so it's like that's a lot of planning and activity that you're trying to accomplish while you're alive with the energy to do so and with the right mind to do so. That's really powerful right there, and I commend you and honor you for doing that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and that's my why, and other people have their own whys. But to tell you the truth, the power of it, the legacy that somebody can leave. If somebody doesn't have the same background or the same circumstances I have, but the powerful legacy that anybody can leave by just putting this program into place and executing on it. The legacy they can leave to their children and their children's children is very powerful. Who knows what the economy is going to be like in 40 years or 80 years or whatever. I figure if I live the average lifespan, I'm in my 80s. My son's probably got about 40 to 50 years after that. If that be the case, I don't know what kind of economic background or what kind of circumstances his world is going to be, but I do know this. That money has got to generate enough income that it can literally pay for his monthly needs, because he's going to need to be taken care of. I know people in their 20s aren't thinking this way yet. When they hit their 40s and they realize that they have this desire to leave a legacy for their children or their children's children, they're going to have to play a lot of catch-up. If I can get people in their 20s to think this way and to start understanding that there's something bigger than them out there, then that's going to be a powerful legacy to leave.
That's so true indeed. That is so true indeed. I'm not sure where I heard this from recently. It was some random video on YouTube. It was talking about this old saying. I'm probably going to butcher, but talked about how the young lone wolf has got to be able to think long ahead enough to take care of the old future wolf.
Yeah, it's not going to be my reality. There's going to come a time where the old wolf is just going to be, pretty much waiting for his time, and so my goal is obviously just to leave my son a legacy that he can be able to be cared for. But, you know, as I say, the principles taught, I really want to kind of circle back to that. If people make it to purple belt, okay, 6 belts in, they have no consumer debt. That means all their credit cards are paid off. They're not looking at this they don't have student loan debt, and that's a huge one. I mean, people don't realize how student loan debt literally delays their ability to really start to live life. And the people who live life while they're still carrying student loan debt end up running up debt elsewhere. And now they're compounding. Just as compound interest works for the investor, compound interest will work against the person who borrows money. People have to understand that. That is a critical point. Compound interest can be your best friend when you're investing. Compound interest is your worst enemy. That's the financial threat we want to first eliminate. We want to neutralize the compound interest working against us. Then we want to turn around and make that compound interest work for us. That's the opportunity we're seizing. So we're neutralizing the threat and we're seizing the opportunity. And that's a critical juncture. If we can get people just a purple belt, that'll change people's lives. And from there on out, it's like when you're in martial arts and you're training, you know, you get to your purple belt and you start thinking, I can actually make brown belt. I can actually make red belt. I can actually become a black belt. Before that, you're so consumed with all the stuff you have to learn just to get the purple belt, you're really not looking beyond that. Once you get to that purple belt, your life starts to change. And that change will motivate people to go further and further. So I think that's really important to understand. Compound interest can be a threat. Once you neutralize it, it can become an opportunity, and then you can seize on it. So powerful part of the book right there.
Oh, yeah. And you're right in the college debt thing, the whole student loan debt, man. Oh, man, Sally Mae, one of the richest ladies in all the land at this moment.
She certainly is.
She's like, take that, Mary Kay. Forget your makeup. I got student loans.
You know, what's interesting was I was at the pitch competition, and it was at Hood College, which was, you know, it's my alma mater. It's where I got my 4-year degree. And so it was a blessing to be able to actually go back and talk to the body, because the student body was in the audience. And when I asked the question, how many of you here have student loans? Almost the entire auditorium had their hands raised. And I just told them, I said, you know what? Y'all need a plan. You need to have a plan, because that student loan debt will stop you from being able to really experience life the way that you could experience it. And I think that in a roundabout way, you know, Sally Mae has kind of done a disservice to some of our college students. Although I have helped this program, I actually instituted it with a young man that came out of college. He was 23 years old. He had $35,000 in student loan debt. We built a strategy, and within 2 years, he had the student debt loan paid off, and he was debt-free. His life changed in 2 years from 23 to 25. Now at 25, he's debt-free. He has a decent job, makes a decent amount of money, but he also learned a very important lesson. He learned that he can overcome difficult situations. You know, when we go into martial arts, and one of the things they do is breaking, and I broke the 4 cinder blocks. The concept of breaking is you got to look beyond your target and strike through it. The concept is I can overcome this barrier by striking through it, by looking beyond it, focusing beyond it. It's the same thing we need to get people to do who have student loan debt. They need to stop focusing on the student loan and focus beyond it. If we can get them to focus beyond it, they'll be able to crash through it. And when they're crashing through it, that'll give them the confidence to say, hey, if I'm faced with another barrier, another financial barrier, I can break through it because I already know the discipline that I need in order to do that. And that's a powerful thing, too. So that's another great tie to martial arts, that discipline.
And I love that, too. It's like, yeah, they always told me in Taekwondo, don't kick the board, kick through the board. It's like, don't aim for the ceiling, aim for the moon. Just aim for the sky.
There you go. Hey, going north, right, buddy?
Yes, sir.
That's where you're going. So.
That's right. That's right. In a 2-year transformation, kudos to that, and that is an amazing thing. And that's just the first of many folks that you're going to influence with this program and with this book. And it's something that everyone needs. I mean, we as a nation, we're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and it's like if we can at least get the everyday folks, to at least get rid of their part of the debt, it's like, all right, so that way they can avoid being part of the collective red.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. We're not going in the right direction when it comes to our and part of it is that a lot of these people, I know myself included, right? It's absolutely my story. I was never taught these things. I had a motivator. When my son was born with a disability, my motivation changed, and I attacked it. I studied the billionaires. I wanted to understand how they became billionaires, because if I could just get a little piece of their knowledge, at least I'll be able to provide for him. So I studied and I self-taught, and I did it over a long period of time. So what I'm trying to do is take all of that knowledge that I've gained over a long period of time, condense it into a book, put it together in a curriculum for a seminar, and then go out there. So, if there's a small business owner out there that happens to hear this podcast and wants to get in touch with me, certainly go to financialblackbelt.us, contact me. We'll work something out to get this to their employees, because, when you have a stressed employee, you have somebody that's not as productive as they could be. You have somebody that's not as present as they could be. You have somebody that's not as engaged as they could be. And if we could alleviate some of the financial stress off of employers by, helping their employees, I think that we could change the dynamics of productivity in America, which would be a phenomenal goal to reach for. So if there's a small business owner out there in the Baltimore area who wants an in-person seminar and wants to work, wants the Financial Black Belt Academy to work with their people and take the pulse of your people. Find out if there's a need for us. And if there's a need for us, we're not interested in taking their money. We're interested in the employee keeping their money so they can reduce that stress. And that's gonna make for a more engaged, more productive, more present employee, and that's what we would shoot for.
A worthy goal indeed, worthy goal indeed. And the more money that the folks keep, the more they can actually make a positive difference in not only their own world, but in the world of others.
Absolutely. I've often said, building wealth is not meant to be kept for oneself. Building wealth is a way of giving back. It's a way of paying forward. It's a way of, rolling through the drive-thru and saying, hey, I'm paying that person's ticket behind me. Or rolling through the toll booth and saying, hey, you know what? Here's money for the next couple cars or whatever. That's one way of giving back. Another way of giving back is, when you see somebody in need, to be able to pay somebody's electric bill who may not make it this month is a huge, huge gift. But a person who's financially stressed can't do that. A person who has got their finances in order has the ability to then say, you know what, I'm going to pay it forward. Around Christmas time, greatest time in the year to give huge tips. I go get your hair cut on Christmas Eve. That person's working Christmas Eve. They have to work. So why not give them a huge tip? Leave them with something that they can, be thankful for. There's all sorts of different ways that we could use our resources to just bless other people. And but you got to get there first, right? You got to be able to get to the point where you can say, now I can be a blessing to other people. So that's one of the many options there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The advancing personality philosophy in action right there. That's right. That's right, being able to bless others. Yes, indeed. Funny enough, keeping the poor folks away from being poor eventually.
I have to. I'll quote somebody, and I'm sure you'll know this quote, right? We're told that we will always have the poor with us, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't help them, right? To say that they'll always be here, to say that there'll always be people who will have less, is a factual statement. But never was it stated that we shouldn't help them. So we got to figure out a way that between those who have the ability and the means, certainly I don't think I'll make a political statement. I don't really think the government is the most efficient operator when it comes to dispersing money. So why not each person take that and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to become an efficient with my finances so I can then help others and maybe even give others a hand up.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Words of the legendary Christ himself, baby.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. And it's a beautiful thing where you have Christians who actually have the right mindset about money and just helping folks to actually get better with it. Because, I mean, in a lot of Christian areas, I mean, there's the classic misinterpretation of they're saying that the love of money is the root of all evils. Like they forget about the love of money. It's like not money itself. Money's just a tool. It's just a form of energy. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, right, you got that. So good and evil, right? If good people don't have money, who has all the money?
Evil.
Evil. So the idea is that it's not. You're right. It's a tool, right? It's amoral. Money doesn't care what it does. It will sit on a desk and do nothing if that's what you want it to do. It's the person behind it that really is using that tool to either bless or curse. That's what it comes down to.
That's right. And bless people indeed. So with also the wonderful guidebook, is there also going to be an audio version, or are you just going to be sticking with the upcoming video coaching program that's going to be coming down the road with it?
So we're going to expand. We're going to go to some e-commerce on our site. We're hoping to eventually get to the point where we can offer some tools, actual analytical tools that I've used in the process of developing this whole concept of the financial black belt. And so we're looking at an e-commerce extension of our website. We are certainly looking at engaging small business owners to come in and offer financial wellness throughout the year. So maybe like come in and do 6 seminars a year in their business, individual coaching. And then we're also extending into a video platform. We're not quite sure how that's going to develop. We have some ideas. We have some preliminary videos already out there. If they go to my website, they can go to the media page. So if they go to the financialblackbelt.us and go to the media page, you'll see the podcast that we've talked about, and also some videos, very early preliminary kind of videos that kind of give a window and an insight into what we're doing. But eventually, yes, I don't think we're going to go audiobook at this moment. The information in the book is very technical at times, and it can get lost on the reader. Sometimes the reader has to read it 3 or 4 times because it comes with examples, but it's still going to be more advantageous to be in the seminar, because in the seminar is where the real teaching happens. The guidebook is a great guidebook to say, hey, what is the strategy and stuff like that, but to understand the logic behind the strategy or the logic behind the financial milestone that we're trying to accomplish, the strategic part of it, that's better off the seminar. So we're probably going to go a video platform so it can be explained in detail, little 10-minute vignette of a specific topic. But that's all in the expansion plans, and with us winning the pitch competition, it definitely gives our program legitimacy. And now we're looking to work with the Board of Advisors to try to figure out where the need is. So we'll probably be doing some surveying to try to figure out where the greatest need is, and then we'll probably shoot for that as the target.
Awesome indeed, awesome indeed. And is there any seminars coming up soon, or is that something tailor-made for certain businesses?
So We are now accepting requests for seminars. We're probably going to we have a possibility of doing a demo seminar at one of the companies out in Frederick, and we want to try to get some feedback from that. I think doing some demo seminars is going to be advantageous to get feedback and kind of find out where people think the strengths and the weaknesses are when it comes to the, how the message is received and kind of what topics they are more interested in. And but certainly we're ready to step it out. We're ready to roll it out in seminar form. So small business, mid-sized business that wants to provide a different opportunity and option for their employees to maybe address some fundamental financial issues. People. Part of the problem with the companies that offer retirement plans is they only care about the person's finances to the extent that they can get them to put more money in their program, in their plan. We care about the person's financial state. We want to take all different components of the financial world of the person and bring them together and tie them together and show them how they can strategize. And when you strategize in one, it actually builds a strategy and it positions the person for the next one and the next one. We don't think it's wise to invest or to over-invest at first. The most important thing is getting out of debt and getting a priority to how you spend money. And once the person learns those simple principles, then we start moving towards, hey, now you start to think about, I've got some extra money, how can I invest this, and start to get that money working for the person. And that's really our goal, is to work with people, to train people to manage their own money, and then that frees them up to do a lot of different things.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Freeing up all sorts of time, baby. That's right.
Time and resources. That's what life is all about.
Woohoo! TNR, baby, TNR. All the time and resources.
When you think about it, you only have 168 hours in the week, right?
Oh,
and you're spending most of the time worrying about your finances. You're burning time. You're burning daylight,
Funny enough, when you said that, it kind of reminded me this meme I saw online where this little cartoon figure got his paycheck and then he threw gasoline over it, threw it on the table, put gasoline over it, set it on fire, and then he just had this depressed smile on his face with tears coming down his face because it was going to bills.
Yeah, and that's and sadly, but that's the reality for a lot of people. A lot of people can't, take a breath when they get their paycheck. They're paid 78%. There's 129 million workers in America. 78% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. That's a phenomenal number. We got to change that, and that's what we're setting out to do. We don't want people living paycheck to paycheck. We want people that can actually breathe in between their pay weeks. That's what we want.
That's right. And then they'll be able to get that orange bathrobe and get to breathe fully. Full meditation.
That's right, baby.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, alrighty. It sounds like some great things await with the programs coming up soon. Go out there and buy the book. Heck, buy a copy for a family member and go through the process. Maybe have an accountability partner with the whole thing as well as another avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. So any parting words for the folks still listening?
Well, I would definitely, there again, I would encourage people, if you can get the Kindle version, obviously the Kindle version, it's right at your fingertips. If you need to look something up, you can look it up. You can get paperback. The paperback is also available on Amazon. It carries a lot of information, so there's a lot of good stuff in there. Visit the website, which is financialblackbelt.us. And, if there's any small business owners out there in the area that are interested in bringing it in and kind of having a fair hearing and seeing if it's something that their people would be interested in pursuing. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll on this. So.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks a bunch for your listening ears, and it's time now because it's here. Book number 2 is finally here. Stay the Course. The Elite Performers, 7 Keys to Sustainable Success. And you can pre-order your ebook copy today by heading over to Amazon.com and pressing that Buy Now button for only 99 cents. It is a low-cost investment in advancing yourself into your greatness. So let's go ahead to Amazon.com, type in Stay the Course. Look for the book with the big fat red letters, Stay the Course, and the compass pointing north. And yours truly, Dominic Brightman, is the author. And I thank you in advance for all that you do. Go out there and dominate.